right, it is 6 o'clock on December 7th, 2023, and we will call the Truth and Taxation meeting to order.
Okay, I think I'm going to start.
All right, Andrea.
We just have a short presentation, and then we will turn it back to the chair for public comment, to open the public comment if there is any, and we'll whip through it here. So the first thing we wanted to just go over is the budget development and timeline. The whole process really takes the full year. It starts way back in January. In March, property tax statements are mailed out. In August, the county board receives the first draft of the budget, and we do a 2-year budget process. So 2024 is the first of the 2-year cycle this year. So back in August, the board did get a snapshot of the 2025 budget as well. And then pretty much August through November, staff meets with different departments going through budgets. The county board holds workshops. In September, the proposed budget is announced and the preliminary levy is established. In November, property tax notices are mailed out. And then December, we conduct the public comment period for the budget, which is what we're doing this evening. And we will ask the board to approve the final levy at their next board meeting, which is December 19th. I think.
So on this slide, I like to show people they come in and usually have a question regarding valuation. Obviously, that question should have been taken care of, unfortunately, in June at the Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting. However, it is nice to show that for pay 24, we actually go back to 2021 on when valuations, when data was collected regarding the value of the property. So as you can see from the slide on the first line going over, there's a thing called the quintile when our appraisers are assessed. Our appraisers go out and take a look at all the properties. They have to be visited once every 5 years. So they visit about 6,500 properties a year between the 6 appraisers. From there, the information is collected in the January 2nd of 2023. Values have to be determined according to the Department of Revenue. And then on 2023 valuation, pay 24 notices are mailed out, and individuals have a time to an appeal, and that usually the process is done April through June is the final date. This past year, our Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting to finalize that was June 26th, and then that gets sent to the state. And at that point too, that's the valuations that are used that the tax rates are applied against. And we will go over a slide in that in a second. And then as Andrea pointed out, we begin the budget discussion here in 2023, and brings us up to date here. We had the preliminary levy on September 19th. We then are here today on December 7th, having the TNT. And with that, we will then collect taxes in 2024 in May, October, and November for ag as well. So the process is quite a lengthy process, a lot of steps and procedures to go through to get here where we are today.
Just one comment on that, and just so the board fully understands, that September cutoff in 2023, the end of September, the state is still setting the ones that they set as far as valuation all the way till almost the very last days of September. So when we think we're all final in June, the state is still working on. And actually, when we set our preliminary on the 19th, there were still 2 power companies that had not settled with the state on what their valuation was for Goodhue County at that time. So that process, we think we know when it ends. There's the state still screwing around with it for a while afterwards, and the state made some significant changes in Excel's valuation. Again, that all gets shifted to all the other parts of the county because it came off of a utilities cost. So just so they understand.
Okay, back to the budget and levy. As we noted, September 19th, the board set the preliminary budget at $90,232,134 with a levy of $44,331,886. That was an increase of just over $2.3 million, or a 5.5% increase over the 2023 levy. Now, where we're at today, the proposed budget is $90,965,420 with a levy of $43,787,376. This is an increase of 1.7, just over 1.7 million, or 4.2% over the 2023 approved levy. This does represent a reduction of $544,490 in the approved preliminary levy. And then just that snapshot of 2025, a preliminary budget of $86,123,172 with a levy of $46,302,627. And when we look at the overall budget and where those dollars are spent, 48% goes to pay personnel services and costs. 30% goes to services and charges. 7% is public assistant. 5% goes to capital. 3% goes to supplies and materials and miscellaneous other expenses. 2% for debt and transfers and future fund balance. And I think I got them all. When we look at the levy, the proposed levy again, $43,787,376. 53% of that goes to fund our general fund. Departments within that general fund are administration, finance and taxpayer services, our land offices, veteran services, sheriff and county attorney, court services, those departments. 19% goes to our Health and Human Services Department, 15% to Public Works, 7% to capital, 5% to debt, 1% to waste management, and less than 1% to economic development.
The next slide here covers the 5-year capital plan. As you can see up at the top, the area in green is the sources of revenue for our capital expenditures, whereas the section at the bottom in orange is the different type of items that we're going to be spending money on. So you can see for 2024, the total capital spend is, for the capital plan, is $3,980,000, approximately $4.2 million in 2025, 4.2 26, and then there's a jump up in 2027. The jump there is caused by 3 major items within the facilities maintenance area, building upgrades. And then for those sources, for the capital levy, you can see in 2024, it's approximately 3.3 million. It jumps up to 3.9 in 2025. That increase is primarily because in 2024, we're using reserve fund balance of $354,000 as well as $225,000 of ARPA funds to pay for these capital items. Then the next slide here is simply the same information, but in a chart format, so you can see where the differences between the capital levy and then the total capital expenditures fall.
And the next few slides that we have are
We have a question here.
Yeah.
Just a comment on that. You know, and we've been around here doing this for a little while. There may be fund balances that come into play in 25, 26, 27, 28, but we just can't predict what that will look like. So I think you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt and know that it's going to change, because as we build or lose fund balance, we can make changes in those areas. But
And
this
Lucas,
is as good as you can predict.
And that's what the 4 years after 2024 are for planning purposes, so we can at least foresee what we know. And Lucas and I had the conversation too regarding like 2027. I mean, there are ways to bring that down, but at least we have it and we know about it, what it looks like today.
Right.
So for 2024, the proposed levy and tax rate, as Andrea pointed out too, looking at the 2024 column, that's 43,787,376. So that is an increase again. And so again, the levy is the portion that we need to ask for to make up the budget. The other portion is grants, state fees, state income, things like that. And so the increase from the 2024 levy from the 2023 levy is 1.7 million. The change is 4.2%. So that brings their tax rate, I believe, to the lowest it's ever been. At least we'll go on the next slide and take a look, but at 42.008%. And so that is down 0.855% over the current tax rate. So taking a look historically, thank you, at the tax rate, as you can see from the graph right there at 42.008% here. What's being proposed for 2024 is slightly lower than what it currently is. I did just some other analysis just for the fun of it too, and you can see where they're lined up from 2015 down through 2024. So the average over the past 23 years, which represents everything on the left-hand side, is 47.675%. And if you even took the 10-year average, it's still 44.375%. So we're still under that. This one I put together, I was playing around because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding or misconception out there. When people see the levy go up, they automatically assume that the tax rates are going to go up, or things are heading in the wrong direction. And it's hard to have a growing business, a growing community, and not have your levy go up. So what I attempted to show with this one is you can see the levy in the blue lines going up, again, because it's a growing community. But the tax rate has actually gone down if you look at the trend line. So you have the percents listed there in green off on the right-hand side of the tax rate that continue to drop. And then your levy dollar amounts are off on the left-hand side. And so it just goes to show that even though the levy goes up, the tax rate can go down. And the tax rate is something that every property in Goodhue has in common, that's what's going to be multiplied towards that tax capacity that we will now talk about. So what most people are going to be taking a look at is use the median market value home in Goodhue County, and that's going to be $259,200. The previous one for 2023 was $246,800. So once you apply the market value exclusion, and that's made to go away once your value continues to go up. This year, it's $413,800. After that, you don't get any market value exclusion. So you can see then that's the state program, and it has increased. But for this exercise, you can see that reduction is less because your market value has gone up. And so then that brings down your taxable market value, again in the 2023 column, to $245,288. Now, when you multiply that times your 1% tax rate for residential, and again, different tax rates depending on the property that you're talking about. Ag has different ones. Commercial and industrial have 2%, just to give you an idea, but all residential is 1%. So you multiply the 1% times your taxable market value of $245,000, you get $2,453. That is what is going to be multiplied times the tax rate, and that comes out to $1,030. The difference between that and your 2023 median value home is $37 increase for the county. Now, that's just your county taxes. You have 3 major taxing jurisdictions. You also have the city that you might reside in, and you also have the school district. You also might have a watershed and other smaller ones, or you might have a special assessment as well. However, the difference for Goodhue County only is going to be $37 for all the services. Backing up a little bit more, and this is a little bit that gets covered more at Board of Appeal and Equalization, but some people want to know how we came up with the 42.008% how did you suddenly take 43 million and turn it into 42%? So this is a quick way of taking a look at it. The total taxable market value in Goodhue County is $9.9 billion. We then turn that into the net tax capacity that we just did for the single value home, but we do it for all the properties. So then we come out to $106.6 million. We take out the TIF, less the power lines, we end up with a total net tax capacity of $105.7 million. So that's the first one highlighted in yellow. We then go down to our county levy that we were just talking about of $43.7 million. We take the county levy, divide it by the net tax capacity. Now this is a simplified form, if you will, but you'll come out to 42.008%. And I have to say there's a little more work that's done off on the side for Selco but for the point of this exercise, that is how you come out with the tax rate, is simply taking our levy and dividing it by the next net tax capacity of the whole county. And again, that bottom where the impact is, that's your median value home, market value exclusion, taxable income times 1%, and you get $1,030 for county taxes, which is a $37 increase. A couple more slides that I thought were kind of fun, if you will, and I know if anybody will enjoy it, might be Commissioner Anderson. But taxable market values, they show on here what is the biggest category of those, if you will. So as you can see, the one in red is residential, the one right underneath it is ag, and those are the numbers underneath for 2024. On the bottom, you can see the 9.9 million, the very far right lower corner. So that's how we came up with the $9.9 million for the taxable market value. And then there are the other ones in there too. And this just goes to show of the $9.9 million, the percent. So again, residential is in red. Residential has increased, you can see, for over the last 5 years from about 35% up to almost 40% as a percent of the total. And then ag has stayed pretty steady for the last 5 years. However, if we went back to 2015, ag was actually at 43% of the total. So ag has actually come down and then leveled off in the last 5 years. One thing that you will find too, if I didn't show you all the slides, but ag and residential have kind of flip-flopped over the past 10 years on who has the majority of it. And again, these values are based on sales. Every property in the state of Minnesota is treated the same through the Department of Revenue in their process. And so a lot of it is based on sales, and sales are driving up residential properties. And that is all we have. There is some more information too to help out residents if they qualify. There is the property tax refund information through the Department of Revenue. You can contact them, go on the website to see if you qualify. There's a couple different programs that they have out there. And then also, if you have additional information, you can call the Finance and Taxpayer Services at that number, 651-385-3040. And we can help answer any questions regarding tax, what you might owe, or any questions regarding your value. And with that, I have nothing additional, and we'll stand for any questions.
All right. Are there any questions for our presenters? At this point, can we open the public hearing? Need a motion?
It's open to public without.
It's open. Do we have any comments from the public? Anyone? If you'd like to come up to the mic and state your name and your address.
Yeah, my name is Martin Dickey. I just moved from Colorado this year. So, yeah, I was shocked to receive my property tax statement just a couple weeks ago. We looked at some homes, some property here in Red Wing. In Colorado, we had a home. We sold it for $530,000. And taxes were a little over $2,000 a year. So we looked at property here in Red Wing, and one thing I always looked at when I was shopping around was property tax, and I was surprised they were, for regular size homes, $3,000. The highest I guess I saw was $3,600. So, but none of those homes really, fit our, we ended up buying a small townhome from Bigelow Homes, new one in Goodhue. So it was like way overpriced as far as I was concerned. I mean, we're looking at a home 1,700 square feet, 400, which is a garage. So really, it's a hobbit hole, as I call it, 1,300 square feet. So it's a twin townhome. So we are on one side, and we have a neighbor that's right next to us. So I was trying to find out what the property tax was. Went down to the Goodhue town office, and my neighbor thought it was going to be around $4,000. I said, that can't be right. That's ridiculous. So went down there and said, nah, it's not going to be $4,000. But then I called here, and they said numbers and said, yeah, I guess that's what it's going to be. So sure enough, a couple weeks ago, I get this, $4,004 for 1,300 square feet of living space. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is completely ridiculous because for that one property, you're squeezing $8,000 out of us. $8,000 for that one town. And where is this going to stop? I'd like to speak against any levy increase, any increase at all. And if anything, let's look at some budget cutting and some increase. The politicians up in Minnesota, the St. Paul, I mean, they're throwing money out the window, and the governor promised the people here a $2,000 relief because the budget, there was a surplus. Then last year, they burned through that. He went back on his promises. They burned through from a $17 billion surplus to what is it now? How many billions and billions of dollars in deficit? Now they're going to make us buy this and buy that and buy electric cars that in the cold don't even work, and they don't even have the capacity to charge them. And then economics.
Say, Mark,
And we
Mark?
get a property tax increase of $4,004.
Mark, can you hold the microphone so the people online can hear you? And then also, if you could keep it directly towards Goodhue County's budget, that would be great.
I'm just talking generally that.
Right, and this is about Goodhue County's
Yes,
budget.
I understand. And so what I'm saying is, as a resident and as a resident of this country and a resident of this state, any kind of increase impacts us all. That's how it affects, that's how it relates to this. Okay, so I've got a wife now who we discovered now has an autoimmune disease. So we're spending $1,000 to $2,000 a month to figure that out. Now she had to have a tooth pulled, so now we've got to spend $6,000. And where's this all going to come from? We have a fixed income. So anyway, just some perspective from a citizen with a $4,000 property tax bill.
Right. Thank you for coming up. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to us? Okay. Then we adjourn? Official adjourn, or we're done?
We need to officially adjourn.
Okay. I'd like to make motion to adjourn.
Second.
Made and seconded. We'll take the roll call. Linda, you're first.
Aye.
Susan.
Aye.
Jason. Aye. Board Chair, aye. Aye. Adam, Brian. Brad. Motion carries. We're all done. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.